Hey everybody, it's GauntletX and welcome back to some more Magic Arena, and today I'm going to be playing a premiere draft of the Brothers War Alchemy. Without further ado, let's just get into this pack. Our Alchemy card here is Tawnos Endures, which allows you to exile a creature, keep it exiled, and keep giving it +1/+1 until a later turn. So very slowly you make your creature bigger and bigger and bigger, which is cool. You can exile an opponent's creature with this as well, but then they get the choice of when they want to return it back to the battlefield. So it's kind of just like a temporary removal spell in that way. Not the greatest alchemy card here. We're probably not going to scoop it up. I like Prison Sentence a lot as removal. Scrapwork Cohort is a great creature here with a good unearth ability to keep providing more soldiers. Some pretty solid commons here. Gaia's Courser's a fine uncommon. Heavyweight Demolisher always feels like a little too much mana. Argothian Opportunist is a pretty great common in green. Again, the latest arena update has it where sometimes the cards are cut off on the left-hand side. You're going to see that on occasion, which is unfortunate. Not much I can do about it, though. But I'm just going to roll with some good removal to start it off. Prison Sentence. And for pick 2, we do get past a good removal spell in Mishra's Command, which can do X damage to a creature or a planeswalker. And you can give a creature +X/+0 haste till end of turn, or you can discard up to X cards and draw that many cards. So like 5 mana, 4 damage to a creature, give one of your creatures +4/+0 haste till end of turn. Can be pretty good. Removal spell plus a bunch of extra damage to your opponent. Boulder Branch Golem is a very premium common, in my opinion. It's one of the best ones in green, or just in slower decks in general that can afford to cast a 7-drop, because it's huge at letting you stabilize, putting a 6/5 body on board and gaining 6 life for 7 mana. Mishra's Research Desk is great card draw in red. Red doesn't get a lot of that. It's also a sacrifice effect. Triggers a lot of good abilities. There's this figure for great black removal. Really good pack here, but I think I'm just going to roll with the rare. Mishra's Command seems perfectly fine by me and pretty fun. Pack 1, pick 3 now. We have a Brotherhood's End, which is a relatively powerful board wipe. It's going to wipe out all the small creatures or small artifacts from the board. The problem is pretty much every red deck I've ever played in this format has been pretty aggressive, where this is likely to hit you harder than it hits your opponent. So I'm not a really big fan of it, just because it doesn't feel like it has a great home. We could take a second copy of Prison Sentence here. That seems perfectly reasonable. Yoshin Frontliner is a very aggressive card that's pretty nice. Energy Refractor is a nice and open card that'll fit into almost any deck. It does replace itself when you play it. Mightstone's Animation, one of the best blue commons. Just need a few artifacts, but if you have them, it's essentially a 4-mana 4/4 that draws a card. A very good deal. I think I'm just going to keep rolling with just removal here. Take another Prison Sentence. Don't think any of those cards were a huge reason to dip into another color. And this time around, we do have a card here that, in my opinion, is a relatively big reason to swap one of our colors here. We've got a Hero of the Dunes. 5 mana for a 3/2. When it enters the battlefield, return an artifact or creature with mana value 3 or less from your grave to the battlefield, and give all your creatures with mana value 3 or less +1/+0. Card's just a bomb. It's one of the best signpost uncommons. The way to build around this is very clear with the way that it's worded. Just draft a bunch of creatures that cost 3 mana or less, and play a pretty aggressive black-white deck. Then this comes out at the top end of your curve, gives your whole field +1/+0, and brings your best creature back from the grave. Here, the Dunes is just a great card, and I'm happy to push into black instead of red for it. Assemble the Team's the Alchemy card for the pack. Pretty fun one. Search the top third of your library for a card, but it is black-green. We're not in either of those colors yet, so not really going to consider that Alchemy card too highly. Prison Sentence number 3, starting the draft with our removal pretty much all locked up, feels pretty good to me, so I think I'm just going to roll with that. Other cards in this pack, there's a Lauren, Disciple of History, which is pretty good if you have a lot of artifacts in your deck that'll end up in your grave. Nice little value play, especially if you have multiple legends, but Prison Sentence is just premium removal. I'll take plenty of those. Get all that removal out of the way. Ooh, Scrapwork Mud here, pack 1, pick 6. This card is actually fine, even if you're not in red. It's great if you can pay for the unearth. Kind of interested in picking up a Scrapwork Mud here. Maybe we can be white-red splash black or white-black splash red. If we can get a couple Evolving Wilds or energy refractors, we can splash in one of our two non-white colors here. Scrapwork Mud is just a great 2-drop, very good unearth effect, very good enter the battlefield effect in a format that has graveyard synergies like unearth. You can get some value just by discarding and drawing pretty easily. Ambush Paratrooper would be the easier pick there, but Scrapwork Mud I think has the higher upside if we can get a little bit of mana fixing going on here. Now Penregan Strongbow. This is a premium card for any red deck in the format. There's a lot of good artifacts to sacrifice like Power Stone tokens, 1/1s, unearthed cards, because unearthed cards will exile themselves in your end step anyway. Strongbow's a great red card, we're happy to take it here. Now we have an energy refractor that's going to help us splash one of these colors. Seems like a great pickup to me. We could also take Power Stone Fracture if I want to get more heavy onto black, but now I have 2.5 red cards, 2 red cards and 1 red unearthed card. I think we're more likely white, red, splash, black than white, black, splash, red. I guess there's a possibility where red, black, splash, white. Just splashing white for triple prison sentence and here are the dunes. We'll see. We'll see. A lot of ways this could go as it progresses. There's none of these cards I'm very interested in this pack. I don't think I'm going to end up playing a Heavyweight Demolisher, Survivor of Corliss, or any of this. Maybe Survivor in a deck that hits Hero of the Dunes. Goes up a tiny bit in value, but it's still never going to be exciting. I guess that's just the pick. But I would like to be able to cut that by the end of the draft. Unleash Shell's pretty solid removal in more aggressive strategies, which is how we're going to be leaning. 5 damage to a creature planeswalker and 2 to the controller. Very nice. Deadly Riposte is better removal in more defensive strategies or in best of 3 draft, because if you're on the draw, then you know your opponent's going to be playing their cards a turn before you. They're going to start attacking you before you start attacking them, and Deadly Riposte goes up a lot in value on the draw. Another Energy Refractor, premium card for us. Very happy with that. Could just rare draft and assemble a team, but I could also take a Bitter Reunion, which is definitely playable. Little card draw spell that can double as a way to give your board haste out of nowhere, so that late in the game, maybe your opponent isn't expecting a crackback, they attack with everybody. You just top deck some 4-power creature and finish them off. Pretty good. It's an easy rare draft there. I'll take a Mishra here. Not a very exciting card, but it could make the cut. And let's see what we've got in pack 2. Mechanized Warfare is a card I would pretty much only play if I'm mono red, so I don't think I'm interested in that. Our Alchemy card is another Tawnos Endures, which I'm not a huge fan of, and Goblin Charbelcher is kind of similar to the Mechanized Warfare. I'd only really play it if I'm mono red, so you get that bonus from Revealing Mountains to deal double damage. Otherwise, most decks are close to 40% lands, so you're on average going to do 1 or 2 damage off of this every time you flip, which is not great. Could take a 4th copy of Prison Sentence, but I can also take a Junkyard Genius here, another premium signpost uncommon. Creates a Power Stone when it comes into play and lets you sacrifice a creature or artifact to give the rest of your board +1/+0, menace, and haste. Junkyard Genius has the highest upside. It's a super powerful card, and I think it's what I'm going to roll with here, since I already have triple Prison Sentence. A little bit of removal in my other colors, at least in red. Melt Through is our Alchemy card from this pack. 1 red mana to deal 2 to any target. If it's a creature, then it makes it as long as this creature's on the battlefield, damage isn't removed from it. So it's a better shock? That's a very good card. Yeah, 1 mana, 2 damage to any target, that is the bare minimum. And if you're shooting something that has more than 2 toughness, then the damage stays on it forever. And any other damage you put on it stays on it forever, so you can stack up into killing a big like 10/10 or something by chump blocking it multiple turns in a row. That's very interesting. Cool Alchemy card here, but the rare is really tremendously powerful in this pack. 3 mana for a 2/1 Vigilance that destroys an artifact or enchantment when it hits the board. It's just really, really good in this format because there's so many artifacts and enchantments. It's a creature and a removal spell all in one for only 3 mana. Card is too good. I'm going to have to pass that Melt Through, but it is very, very cool. Well, another Junkyard Genius is a little awkward, because now it is looking like we want to push more to red-black, splash the white. Don't know if we probably splash in Lauren, but splashing in like 5 white cards is kind of a lot. Maybe we try to get to the point where we get to cut Prison Sentences by getting enough red and black removal. Maybe that's where we're at, but And take Junkyard Genius here. Scrapwork Mutt, next best card for us. Aeronaut Cavalry is also good if we have some soldiers. Not going to check the count right now, but could be worth considering. This is a good alchemy rare, is it not? Gixian Recycler, 2 mana for a 3/1 with Unearth for 1 and a black. That's already good. When it dies or is put into your graveyard from your hand or library, conjure a card with the same name into your graveyard. Oh, that's very good, yeah. So a 2 mana 3/1 to get aggressive, and then when it dies, you get 2 of them in your grave to unearth. That's super nice. Yeah, I'll definitely take that. Aggressive red-black nonsense here. Disfigure's another great card. Goblin Blast Runner is also good, but I'm going to play with the fun new alchemy rare that I haven't tried before. That looks pretty powerful. Another Bitter Reunion here. That's about it. I guess a Phalanx Vanguard in white. But I want to try to push to red-black if possible. Got a Scrapwork Rager now, seems pretty good. 4 mana to get a 2/2 and draw a card, and then you can unearth it for 4. Could also take Battlefield Forge for mana fixing, help that white splash. But I like Scrapwork Rager a lot. Let's see what our creature curve looks like without white. I think that's the big problem here. We only have 2 2-mana creatures and none at 1 mana. Put all the white into a pile here. Yeah, we definitely need more creatures. A 4-drop creature does help because we don't have any creatures that cost more than 3 yet still. Wow, late Disfigure. Pretty happy to take that. Although Rock Hunter would be good in this deck just because we're low on 2-mana plays right now and it's a nice aggressive body. But Disfigure's so good, I'm just going to take that first. Even though we do need creatures. Wow, there's a lot of Disfigures in this draft pot. I'm going to take another one. There was also the 3-mana 1/4 card that's also pretty good. But I think what I'm going to do here is probably pack 3. I'm just going to aggressively draft creatures and stop taking removal. Because we have 2 Disfigures, Unleash Shell, and Mishra's Command, even if I don't splash in the prison sentences. And if I need more removal, I can splash in the prison sentences. I don't really want more 3-mana creatures, but that's the only option when it comes to creatures here, so... just take a Scrapsmith, I guess. We have a few unearthed cards that'd be good to mill. Rager, Recycler, and Mutt. Is this when it goes into your graveyard from your hand or library? So if you mill a Gixian Recycler to Atomical Scrapsmith, you get to put the Gixian Recycler into your hand, and there's still a duplicate in your grave to unearth. That's a very fun little combo there. That's super cool. Easy Rock Hunter here. We're looking for more 2-mana creatures to get aggressive, beat our opponent down. Oh, some late Boulder Branch Golems here. That's going to be tough for our deck to deal with, but not something we want to play in our deck. We'll take a Battlefield Butcher, I suppose. Still looking for more creatures. It's a lot of 3-mana stuff, though. Goblin Blast Runner, probably good in this deck. We have 2 Junkyard Geniuses, 2 Bitter Reunions, and a Pendragon Strongbow. So a few ways to make this attack as a 3/2 menace. I'm just going to draft for Vault Progress, taking the highest rarity card there, because I'm not going to play any of those. Final pack, what do we have? Urza's Construction Drone. 3 mana, 3/3 when it enters the battlefield. Conjure an Urza's Mine, Power Plant, and Tower into your library, then shuffle. When it attacks or dies, seek an Urza's land. That's fun. That's not really good in our deck, but that's super fun. And when you look at the red and black cards, Gigamol's the best one for our deck because it can mill some of our unearthed cards. It's a very good synergy with the Recycler. But then there's just like infantry, which is not great. So strictly trying to win, we probably just take a Gigamol here, get a 4-drop creature on the curve. But this is just fun. 3 mana, 3/3, every time it attacks, you draw a land card. Why not? Why not? It's not a bad rate, even if our deck doesn't care too much about those extra lands. Scrapwork Cohort is good, even if we're just splashing white, but there's also Excavation Explosion. How many creatures do we have now? We actually have quite a bit, but they're just stacked up on 3 mana. Yeah, we have 15. If we are going to play Lauren, Hero of the Dunes, and Survivor, which we'll probably play Lauren and Hero of the Dunes. So we're not doing that badly on creatures to where we need to take a creature over an Excavation Explosion, so I'm going to take an Excavation Explosion, premium red card here. It's a removal spell, or it can finish your opponent off for the last few points of damage, and it gives you a Power Stone to sacrifice to your Junkyard Genius or Penregan Strongbowls. Overwhelming Remorse is incredible removal, and the creatures in this pack are pretty bad. Another 3-drop Blitz Automaton, or like a Clay Revenant, which technically it is a sacrifice combo, but it takes 1,000,000 mana to do it, so it's really slow for a color pair that's relatively aggressive. Because you gotta spend like 3 mana to sack it to the Genius, then 3 mana to put it back in your hand, and an additional 1 mana to play it. And when you play it, it comes to play tapped. Same with Transmigrant Altar, I've found it to be pretty slow, even for a dedicated sacrifice deck. And Philagi Chain Dancer is just a slow body as well. Just none of these creatures are great. Junkyard Genius copy number 3. Well, okay then. I don't think there's much else I need to say than okay then to that. We'd love to wheel a 2-drop creature like Thraxidemon would probably be the best, because it's the highest power 2-drop creature in this pack, but Forge Chanter would also be okay. An Emergency Weld is a slower kind of creature, because you don't play this till there's something else in your grave, but still good. Any 2-mana creatures here? Ooh, there are 2-mana creatures here, and there's the best one in this pack. It's one that can help trigger your Unearth cards with that discard, then draw. Scrapwork Mutt is beautiful. Exactly what we're looking for. Gurgling Anointer can be quite good as well if you have a lot of card draw on the deck, but again, I kind of have like 8 3-mana cards, so as good as Anointer is, if I take Anointer, it's going to end up just replacing another 3-drop on the curve, and we're not helping our curve at all, but with Scrapwork Mutt, we really are. But we do actually have a few ways that could trigger that Gurgling Anointer. We, of course, have the Scrapwork Mutts. We also have Scrapwork Rager and Energy Refractors to get an additional card draw. Pretty easy sibling rivalry here. We have 3 Junkyard Geniuses that can sacrifice any creature, not just artifacts, that we've stolen from a sibling rivalry. And that's not all that we have. We also have Penregan Strongbow that can sacrifice any artifact creatures we steal. We'll take a sibling rivalry. Double Over the Top, 2 packs in a row. This card's very funny. It's just a commander-focused card. Not something I'm going to try to do in limited here. I'll take another Scrapwork Rager over Emergency Weld. This card is very, very good. It's a nice Gravedigger sort of effect to bring the best creature in your grave back out. But I think our deck's going to be quicker than trying to get that kind of super late game value. Go for the Rager. We can just use Unearth value to stay ahead in card advantage. Now we can take Mishra's Juggernaut as a pretty good finisher. The one thing we're kind of lacking right now, all our creatures are pretty small. We might even end up cutting white here at this point because our removal's really good. Our curve is actually getting reasonable here. We might not even need to do any splashy stuff here, but we'll find out. Clay Revenant or Conscripted Infantry, not in love with either, but they're the only options. Elsewhere Flask can be good with the Goblin Blast Runner. Worst case scenario, it's like an Energy Refractor where you just cycle it to draw a card. Best case scenario, it triggers your Blast Runner, you get some extra damage in. I think I'm trying to splash in Combat Couriers off Energy Refractors. But that's a thing you can do sometimes. Don't think it's something this deck really wants or needs to do. Take a Chain Dancer. Probably will not be playing it. Probably won't be playing anything else we pick up for the rest of the pack. Okay, well I will play a Thraxidemon, our 5th 2-drop. Definitely into that. Definitely into that. It gives us another sacrifice effect as well to make our sibling rivalry even better. And all of our Power Stone production. I was going to rare draft a Well of Lost Dreams because it's a rare from the retro artifacts, but I realized I don't need it, so. There was actually a good card for our deck in that pack, unfortunately for our collection. I'm going to see what happens if we narrow this down to just a Rakdos aggro deck. This could be a really, really streamlined one here. This could be a great deck. It's going to be a great deck even if we splash white, because it'll be less streamlined. We'll have the correct color of mana less often, but we'll have a Lauren, triple Prison Sentence, and a Hero of the Dunes. Maybe we splash white just for Lauren and Hero of the Dunes. Just put like 1 Plains in the deck with double Energy Refractor and Elsewhere Flask. That gives us 4 ways to get white mana. We don't actually need to splash for Prison Sentences when we have, good lord, Overwhelming Remorse, Unleash Shell, Sibling Rivalry, Excavation Explosion, Disfigure, Mishra's Command. I could see that. If we do a white splash, it's probably just for those two, just for the bombs. I'm interested in seeing what the deck looks like with a white splash of 2 bombs and what the deck looks like with no white splash. So let's start with no white splash here. See how it looks. We get to cut 6 cards out of here. I want to be really aggressive here and use Junkyard Genius's ability to end games super quickly. So I'd like to have the creature count between 15 and 17. Nice high creature count for an aggressive deck. That way we have a lot of creatures on board quite often for that activated ability to really end the game with menace to the whole field. So let's see what our counts look like right now. 19 creatures, 10 non-creatures. Definitely going to cut at least 2 creatures. We'll cut the weakest ones here. Probably at least one of these 3 mana creatures, because we've got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 of them. If we're going to cut some 3-drops, we probably want to cut some of the slowest ones, because our deck looks pretty blisteringly fast here. So like Battlefield Butcher is really good at like taking over long game and blocking well, but we're not really trying to get into a long game. I've never been a huge fan of Mishra because the stat line's really bad. 1 toughness, only 2 power. Just trades down really easily into 1/1s, so you really need to get a ton of value off the activated ability. It's just okay in here, so probably those 2 3-drops are my least favorite. And then after that, it's like I don't love Scrapsmith, I don't love Infantry. But I think these 2 are the worst in this deck. Chain Dancer's also pretty bad in here, it's just slow. Could drop down to 16 creatures, get that out of here as well if we really want. I think I'm okay with that. And then we cut 3 of our non-creature cards. That's a lot harder to do. Our non-creatures are all great. Probably cutting Elsewhere Flask. But then, like, what do we cut here? It's like great removal, solid removal, great removal, finisher and removal at the same time, finisher and removal, 2 card draw spells, and 2 more removal spells. Do I just cut all the card draw? And in order to get value, I just use our creatures that work that way. We do have 2 Scrapwork Mutts, discarding a card and drawing a card, and 2 Scrapwork Ragers, just straight drawing a card. So maybe I just get rid of the Bitter Unions, don't even focus on that as an alternate way to draw cards. Then our Blast Runner gets significantly worse, because we're cutting 3 cards that can get sacrificed. But we still have... how much in here? We still have a Pendragon Strongbow and 3 Junkyard Geniuses, so still 4 ways to sacrifice cards. Very borderline, but probably fine. Actually, we're probably supposed to cut a land in here before cutting all of these. I may run like 1 Bitter Reunion and cut 1 land, go for the 16 land deck for this black-red aggro. Yeah, this looks pretty great. However, we are really chunky at the 3-drop slot. So I think the best thing that we get from moving to that little white splash here is that if we splash in white, we get to get another really good win condition, Hero of the Dunes, in this deck. And then we do get to cut like the Scrapsmith here. And then we get to play a Lauren as an even better 3-drop to play instead of like Conscripted Infantry or something. I probably shouldn't be playing Urza's Construction Zone. 3 mana 3/3 that draws the land whenever it attacks or dies. But it's so cute, it's funny, it's goofy. It really does so little in this deck though. It's just a 3 mana 3/3. I feel like Infantry's probably better. I mean, it's competing for a slot. Let's be fair, let's be honest here. It's competing for a slot in this deck with a Tomaqual Scrapsmith and a Conscripted conscripted infantry. So it's not really like we're missing all that much by putting a construction drone in here. So I'll just keep it in. But yeah, this would be the white splash. I really dig that. I like really dig that. I guess the biggest problem here with doing the white splash is now we have to make room in our non-creature spells. So our non-creature spells do get significantly worse because we have to run double refractor and elsewhere flask. So that's the big downside, but I really like the upside. I love those white cards that are getting put into this deck. Probably still can just do the 16 land build. Then I need to cut 3 cards. Maybe at this point I cut the construction drone. Although that creature count is 16, and I do still want it really high for Junkyard Genius, so 15 is the minimum. I think if I cut any creature at this point, it's probably Urza's construction drone. Maybe Juggernaut's a bit expensive, but I can play a couple 5-drops. Yeah, it's so hard to make room in the non-creatures. I kind of feel like cutting Bitter Union, because all 3 of these have a card draw attached. They just cycle through. I do want to go for the white splash here. I just have to decide what else is getting cut. I really don't want to cut Sibling Rivalry with triple Junkyard Genius. I mean, that's just absurd. And a Strongbow. What's our worst removal? I guess that is the question now. We just cut the highest mana value removal, cut the Unleashed Shell. We still have Command and Overwhelming Remorse to kill a big thing. Sibling Rivalry can kill a big thing as well. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is still 6 removal spells in here. How many sacrifice effects in here for Goblin Blast Runner? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Still 6 sac effects for Goblin Blast Runner. Yeah, I guess I cut the construction drone over the Blast Runner. I was thinking maybe we can cut these 2 plus Blast Runner. Call it a day, but it's probably these 2 and construction drone. I mean, even if we don't care that much about our late mana, it does feel like 3 mana for a 3/3 draw land every time it attacks or dies is just a good deal. I think this card would be like really good in like a mid-range deck in this format, like a green-black mid-range that has some of those good 7-drop late game plays. It's a little sad we're not in that position here. I guess the one downside to this card is if you don't get the attacks off with it, it does kind of make you more likely to flood out because it just adds a few lands to your deck, but that's not that big of a downside. Because if your opponent immediately kills it, you still pull out 1 land unless they exiled it. You've only added 2 total. I don't know. I'm gonna drop the construction drone, Bitter Reunion, and Unleashed Shell. A little bit sad there, but we get to put the white splash in and do some really powerful stuff here. Although that's the awkward thing now is that we did cut an alchemy card out of the alchemy draft. That's always sad. But we still have a Gixian Recycler here doing its best to do some destructive things. But yeah, this is going to be the deck list here. Looks like a sweet one today. Just need to put 1 plains in here over 1 swamp, most likely. And yep, I think that's what we're going to do. And we're going to call it a deck. All right, here we have a look at the final deck we're going to be playing today. This is a Rakdos Sacrifice deck, splashing in a little bit of white for some very good bombs. This deck looks pretty sweet here. Good aggressive curve of creatures, several cards with Unearth to work with all of our sacrifice effects, which is super sweet because the way Unearth works is after you unearth a card, it will get exiled in your end step anyway. So being able to sacrifice them for a little bit of value is quite nice, since they're just going to die anyway. So all that unearth is great, and we have triple Junkyard Genius, 3 copies of the build around uncommon for the Rakdos Sacrifice deck, so that is tremendously powerful. That is going to help us really close out some games super quickly, giving our whole board +1/+0 and Menace. That's obviously huge. Got a Strongbow as well for good sacrifice stuff, even more unearthers with Scrapwork Ragers and a Mishra's Juggernaut. So the core of the deck is that kind of Rakdos sacrifice, Rakdos unearth stuff, which is great. We have the Sibling Rivalry to steal opponents' cards and sacrifice them. Excavation Explosion as removal that also gives us a Power Stone to sacrifice. Some more good red-black removal between Overwhelming Remorse, Mishra's Command, couple Disfigures. But then, with Elsewhere Flask and Energy Refractor, we have a little bit of a white splash here for a couple bombs. One, Lauren of the Third Path, which works as artifact and enchantment removal that creates a 2/1 Vigilance card at the same time. So for 3 mana, that is a tremendously good deal. Very powerful card. And then at 5 mana, Hero of the Dunes, which is going to be a huge bomb. In this deck, we have 11 creatures in the deck with mana value 3 or less that this will be giving +1/+0 to, and we have several at 3 mana value or less that are very important to our game plan, to our strategy. So if we have one of our Junkyard Geniuses get killed, and then we just drop a Hero of the Dunes on turn 5 and bring it back to the board, that's going to be absolutely devastating. The same with if we can get Lauren to blow something up and then trade off with any creature, being able to recast the Lauren, put Lauren back onto the battlefield and destroy another artifact or enchantment, also going to be pretty busted. So we have some premium targets for Hero of the Dunes to reanimate. So really nice stuff coming in hot from the white splash there. So that is the deck list. That is the game plan. Very good Rakdos sack stuff with some nasty Hero of the Dunes targets off the white splash. Should be a fun time. We're just going to head into the gameplay now and see how it does. Here we are, game 1. This is not a great hand mana-wise, but it might still be a keep. I get to drop a Scrapwork Mutt turn 2 to draw a card, try to hit the right colors of mana, and discard an unearthed card so I don't lose that much value. I think I am going to keep here. Worst case scenario, we have 2 cards immediately castable, and any land gets us to Strongbow, and a Swamp gets us to basically the whole hand. So here's Scrapwork Mutt, discard Rager. See where we go from here, and we've drawn another Scrapwork Mutt to draw cards. Oh my god, a Junkyard Genius coming up too. Giant Cindermaw from our opponent, pretty threatening. We did hit the 3rd land to play a Strongbow if I want to. I think I just want to play a 3-power creature now against this Cindermaw. Problem is our opponent's green-red, so they have a million combat tricks available in the color pair. Just trying to draw into better removal here. Could be an option. No great way to use all my mana, like just dropping a Strongbow doesn't do all that much. We're either dropping a 3/1 and trying to trade, or just setting up more card draw with Refractor or Mutt. This could blow up in my face, but I'm just going to drop the Rock Hunter. If they don't have a good combat trick here, this might get them to just not attack. But there's not really a guarantee if they do attack that they do have a combat trick. I hope this is not an aura or an equipment going onto that Cindermaw, because they are eyeballing it. They are staring down that glorious Cindermaw. Chunky fire pouch. I'm very scared this is like a Blanchwood armor to give it +3/+3 or something. And then we just desperately need to draw into Overwhelming Remorse. Maybe they're going to use removal on the Rock Hunter here. They are. Oh my god, that's nasty. Oh, that's so bad. Mishra's Command here kills our 3/1 and buffs the Cindermaw, so we take 7 damage this turn, or 6 if I chump block. That's a pretty great card there. I can Elsewhere Flask here. I've got Disfigure at the ready off of that, which means I can block plus Disfigure if they don't have tricks. That's another mountain. Just cast another Scrapwork Mutt instead. Don't have a really obvious option of what I want to discard if I do that, though. I could just play the Mutt and not discard a card here. But then I'm tapped out, and if they have any trick and I go for the double block with Mutt, I guess it's not horrible because they both have Unearth. It's probably better for me if they combat trick me on a Mutt double block than if they combat trick me when I try to Disfigure. But yeah, Giant Cindermaw is just being a gigantic issue. Alright, we got the Cindermaw off the board. And then a Boulder Branch Golem is the play, just a 3/3. There's an Excavation Explosion that can exactly blow up a 3/3. I can't get a good block for it. I could play a Strongbow and then sack the Elsewhere Flask to make it a 3/4, so I'm threatening to block it well. I think I'd rather just Explosion and hold up a Disfigure right now. So I can use this Power Stone token towards an Energy Refractor. It's pretty good for me. And I can use the Power Stone towards all these Unearth effects. Just a lot of value to be gained by getting this Power Stone on board as quickly as possible. Mishra's Research Desk. Opponent's going to get to cast an Excavation Explosion or a Perilous Iteration. They're going to choose to just Explosion my face, I guess. No, they're going to play a Blitz Automaton. It is Disfigure time. So Mishra's Research Desk allows them to play whatever they exiled until the end of their next turn, so they can still Explosion next turn. So I need to make sure not to play like a 3 toughness creature here, they're just going to kill it anyway. So let's just go Refractor here and probably unearth a Scrapwork Mutt or 2. Mishra's Command is good. Unearth a Mutt, discard a Rager. Seems fine. Still just desperately looking to draw any non-mountain land. It's well worth it to discard the front half of all these Ragers to try to get there. Alright, unearth the Research Desk. They're going to use it again. And 2 lands are their options, so they probably play a land and Explosion us in the face. Or their Excavation Explosion's gone forever. Yep. Explosion to the face it is, and they will play a Forest next turn. So now I can play Strongbow and Blast Runner, so I actually have blockers, and I can use Strongbow's ability with the mana from the Power Stone if I need to make it a 3/4. There's a large Boulder Branch Golem, that's fine. I can Mishra's Command that soon, not yet. I swear I put lands that aren't mountains in here, I promise. Kinda have to go for a double block to kill this thing now. Shoot for 4 damage with Mishra's Command. It's not where it's at. Play Genius and still have the mana to use Strongbow. Sure. I might be double blocking this Golem. They have the green combat trick, that'll be devastating though. +1/+1, indestructible, hexproof, trample. Epic Confrontation's pretty uncool. Kill our Junkyard Genius here. You do send in for the attack, so we can still go for the 2-for-1 trade here. It's I either chump block and I lose my Blast Runner just to stop damage, or I double block and I lose both to kill the Golem. I feel like it's better to lose both to kill the Golem. Look, we're still ahead in cards because all this Unearth. We did hit a Swamp now, which is good. Now I have Mishra's Command for 5 damage if they play another Boulder Branch Golem. And I have a Thraxodemon that can sack this Power Stone. Mishra's Command is a sorcery, so I can't hold up any instants to protect myself, so I might as well just get in with Rager here. I could wait a turn to where I can hit with Rager and sack Rager to the Thraxodemon to draw another card off of it, but I've got more Unearth to do that combo with anyway. 6 toughness card. Alright, there's the plains as well. Beautiful. Well, I think we gotta just kill this thing. Could discard a card, draw a card, or hit them for an additional 6. With these two in my hand, I'm just going to hit them for an additional 6. Because I can just reanimate the Scrapwork Mutt and discard the Swamp to the Mutt. Ooh, 1 mana Overwhelming Remorse. That's what it's all about right there. That is some spice. Ooh, another Junkyard Genius? Pretty cool. It's 7 life here. I'm gonna go to 6. I still get to hold up Overwhelming Remorse off Energy Refractor. Or the Swamp. I think I've played all my Scrapwork Mutts, so I will play the Swamp here. But I'm going to play it super safe and hold back the Thraxodemon, I think. Make sure I always have 1 blocker and an Overwhelming Remorse. This feels like I'm really turning the corner here. Yeah, and then I get to just sack one of these and draw a card. If I don't need to block with it. Oh, and a Sibling Rivalry is the draw, and a Lauren in hand. Oh, we're so good. We're so groovy. Can threaten a lot of damage if I go Junkyard Genius, Lauren, and give everybody haste, but I don't think I have enough mana. I think I'm like 1 mana off from doing that or something. And even if I did have enough mana, that would be pretty risky. Just be to hit for like 6 or something. Gixian Recycler is the draw. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. If I sack a Mine Worker. If I steal Mine Worker with Sibling Rivalry. I'm just going to play it safe here. I can threaten lethal here by like stealing Mine Worker and playing Recycler and then sacking like a Power Stone, giving everything +1/+0 Menace Haste. But then if they have like anything to survive that, I'd have to give them the Mine Worker back because I wouldn't have enough mana to sack it after. I guess I'd still have Overwhelming Remorse. I would still have Overwhelming Remorse, I'm pretty sure, so actually maybe we do that. No, I would be 1 mana off from Overwhelming Remorse if I sack to Junkyard Genius. I can do Lauren plus Junkyard Genius and still hold up Overwhelming Remorse. So we'll do that, and I think that also threatens lethal, or it gets real close. Yeah, this threatens lethal as well, and lets me hold up Overwhelming Remorse, so we'll do that one. Okay, cool. Took a little bit of thinking to get there for the lethal that turn, but huge turnaround from the deck, just really showing off the value you can get from unearthed cards in this format. Pretty absurd stuff. We had a really bad, really slow start, but as soon as we played enough removal to kind of recover, we just got miles ahead with all the unearthed value. So great stuff that game, 1-0 to start it off. Sweet hand this game, an auto keep, just a snap keep here. Opponent is going to start with an Evolving Wilds. They're going to use that to find whatever basic they need, grabbing an island. Ooh, we've got one of our Junkyard Geniuses at the ready now. Turn 3. Opponent is on green-blue. Let's start things off with a Gixian Recycler, a nice high-power creature that I'm very willing to trade off into whatever they put on the board to try to block it. They're going to put nothing on the board yet. Alright, well, we'll just attack and pass to main phase 2, dropping a Junkyard Genius. Using this Power Stone token for mana here, being able to play both Thraxidemon and Scrapwork Mutt. Or actually, we could just play another Junkyard Genius and a Scrapwork Mutt. We'll have 5 mana next turn, thanks to the Power Stone. Stone Retrieval Unit from our opponent, a 2/3 that gives them a Power Stone. So 5 mana to play around with here if I play an artifact card. We're definitely going to attack with Gixian Recycler. We have no good way to attack with Genius. Kind of want to play an additional Genius here, like Genius Scrapwork Mutt, but then I don't have a great card to discard to the Mutt yet. Maybe we go Genius Refractor and draw an additional card for now. I can't go Genius plus Thraxidemon. I have to play 1 artifact with the Power Stone to use all 5 mana. Whatever I do doesn't have haste, so let's just get the Recycler in first. Ooh, we are going to get a trade here. Get that blocker out of the way. If we are getting the blocker out of the way, then I think I want to just put more power on the board here. I might even want to go Strongbull Mutt. Discard Refractor. But then I can't play any white cards if I draw them. I could just go Strongbull Mutt, discard nothing. Stern Lesson main phase from our opponent. Draw 2, discard a card, get a Power Stone. They are very much rampant. Making more Power Stones, setting up their draws. But that is not committing anything to the board right now, which is good for us. We've got several creatures out here. 3 mana up for a potential artifact. They get a Tower Worker onto the board. We do have a Sibling Rivalry with a Penregan Strongbull, which I could use to steal and kill the Tower Worker right now. I feel like a better use of the rivalry is to kill whatever they're going to cast, because most big cards in this format are gigantic artifacts, so we can steal a gigantic artifact and then sack it instead later. So that's going to be the plan here. Junkyard Genius threatens to give the Strongbull and the Mutt +1/+0 by sacking a Power Stone, but then I'm not putting more power on the board right now. I'm probably just attacking with Strongbull. Attack with Strongbull, play Genius plus Refractor here. Get ready for a massive Sibling Rivalry on whatever gigantic creature they're going to cast next turn, because they're going to have a ton of mana. And then, well, that's not what I expected, but I guess I'll clear that off the board. Suppose they don't need that mana because they have 7 already, so they're probably going to play like a Boulder Branch Golem or something. That's actually awkward for me. That keeps me from casting 2 spells here now. Unless I go Thraxidemon Refractor. I do already have 1 Genius, so I could go Thraxidemon Refractor. Let's go Refractor first, because I haven't played a land this turn, so if I hit one I can still Genius, and there we go. Genius number 2. Combat Thresher. That's a double striker. Hit for 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. If I sack some, I can do like 30 damage if I sack things correctly with Junkyard Geniuses. If I have the mana for it, I guess I don't, but they're still just dead on board here without sacking like anything. Actually, I think I have to sack like 1 or 2 things, but they're definitely dead. Yep. I had to sack 1 thing to a Strong Bull to find that lethal. But definitely happy with holding on to that sibling rivalry there, just getting ready to steal whatever gigantic prototype monstrosity they were going to cast. Worked out pretty perfectly for us, and we'll be 2-0 heading into Game 3. Here we are on the play for Game 3. We've got a turn 1 Blast Runner and a turn 3 Junkyard Genius to get things rolling. Disfigure to interact with whatever our opponent's trying to do. Opponent's on white with a turn 1 Combat Courier. That is fair enough. I'm just going to allow that. Courier sends in for damage. And they're going to pass turn. We now have Scrapwork Rager to play turn 4, which is pretty nice. With the Power Stone from Junkyard Genius, we can even play it and hold up Disfigure. Kayla's Command here, get a 2-2 and a Plains, so they're ramping up the mana curve. I would like to keep beating my opponent down, so I think I'm going to disfigure their 2-2, even though it doesn't have any text. I have triple Junkyard Genius. This is kind of weird, but I'm just going to get that out of here so I can keep bashing in. I guess I could have just offered the trade because I have 2 bonus Junkyard Geniuses. That probably would have been better. Warlord's elite. Explosion cannot single-handedly kill that. Only have the mana to cast 1 spell here. Send in Rager, trade into elite, and explosion it. That could be a thing. I can explosion and use Genius's ability. No huge reason to do so. I'm just gonna send in Rager. They probably don't block. And then we just play a Junkyard Genius. If they do block, we explosion. Alright, no block. Genius number 2. Come on out. Levitating Statue. That is very hard to kill with sorcery speed removal. Can turn into a 1/1 flyer, gets a +1/+1 counter on it every time they cast a non-creature spell. Which gets bigger and bigger and bigger. I can play a Junkyard Genius and use this Genius to give the rest of my board +1/+0 menace. But they can double block 2 things. They can double block 1 thing. Won't have explosion mana if I use a Genius ability. Probably just sending Rager in again for now. Alright, next turn we're going to unearth a Rager and go ham. The triple Junkyard Genius Dream. Disenchant one of our Power Stones. So we have a little bit less Junkyard Genius fuel, I guess. There's a Surge Engine from our opponent. That's a very powerful mythic rare. That could be an issue. Penrigan Strongbowl. Very solid card. They have 3 mana up. Still has Defender, so all they can do is make it a 3/2 that can't be blocked right now. They can't make it a 5/4. They have 3 blockers total, so they block one of our menacing creatures. Send in the squad, one of these gets blocked, so they kill like one Genius or a Strongbowl. They're going to kill the Strongbowl. We can kill the Surge Engine here. Deal 9 damage. Since the Levitating Statue is going to require mana from them every time they need to block with it. I'd rather kill that one there. The one that they don't have to spend mana to block with. Scrapwork Mutt from our opponent. Showing off the value of Scrapwork Mutt even in non-red decks. It's not a beautiful draw for us, but we have lethal on board if we just sack 2 Power Stones here. If they don't have interaction... Oh no, we don't have lethal. Wait, I can use these abilities 3 times. I just sack whichever Genius gets blocked. I think that's where I'm at here. I think we gotta hope no Deadly Riposte number 2 here. Otherwise I am just out of gas. In the top deck zone. If they had a Deadly Riposte last turn, they would have used it already. So unless they top decked removal right now, this should be where we find lethal. Sacrifice whatever Genius gets blocked. Actually, it can't sack itself, so I don't think we can actually... We can deal 7 damage? Because the Geniuses, each Genius gives the other Geniuses +1/+0, so yeah, they like just barely survive here. Right, the way this works. Sacrifice another creature artifact, and then other creatures you control get +1/+0 menace and haste. So yeah, since it can't sack itself, if they double block the 4/2 Genius, then I can sack it to another one of the Geniuses, but then I'm doing 7 damage, not 8. So I can't actually kill them here. I still need to draw into something to actually end the game. That's frustrating. So we just resolve this, right? Just put them to 2. Wipe out multiple blockers. Sack Combat Courier, draw a card. Return one of our geniuses to hand. This is actually pretty okay. Because I get another Power Stone? So they let me replay it, so I get another Menace swing. It's not great, but it's okay. Just need to draw any non-land. Because any creature I draw is going to be added to the board with Menace and Haste. But I do need to draw it soon, because they are like getting pretty good value off like Combat Courier, Scrapwork, Mutt triggers to try to draw out of this. Wait, what? Oh, are you kidding me? Oh my god. That was such a... that's so frustrating. I guess my opponent had no other option, but that was a terrible play from my opponent because they're tapped out of Levitating Statues. So if I draw any... literally any artifact or creature, they're dead here. Because my whole board gets Menace, and they have a single blocker. But I drew a land, so I can only give one of these Menace, because it only gives the other one. Oh, that's so tilting. Yeah, that's monumentally tilting. I think I just pass. I think like 80% of our deck are outs. Or 80% of our deck would have killed them that turn, but now that that turn is over, they have the double block. Could have sacked my whole board to kill Ramos, I guess. I could have attacked both, and then whichever one... Ramos doesn't block, I could have buffed up. Okay, they have 3 blockers. They have 2 blockers. Any creature pretty much still wins the game because it will also get Menace Haste. Oh my god, that one really wins the game. Thank god. Alright, that makes up for last turn. That makes up for last turn greatly. Unless they have a counter spell. Yeah, no, this is completely devastating. Doesn't matter which one I choose, because the other ones get Haste. And Menace. Alright, they scoop them up. That was very close to our opponent recovering there, just hitting some lands in the end there. When, like... everything in our deck would have just been lethal that turn, but luckily we hit like the best draw in the whole deck the turn after we missed, and it was really bad. So really, really lucked out after the bad luck the turn before. So it absolutely made up for it, and we're going to be undefeated so far. We're now 3-0, 1 win away from essentially breaking even. Here we are now in game number 4. We do not have a lot of early game plays here, but we've got the Disfigures to stay alive against other aggro. We have Energy Refractor to get some value. Look for some other stuff to play, and we have our best late game play, our Hero of the Dunes, at the top end of the curve here. Do I want to just Disfigure this frontliner? It's pretty fine. It does kind of attack as a 2-2. They can get like 1 Unearth out of it. Yeah, with multiple Disfigures, kind of cool just shooting that down immediately. Getting that out of the way. Lay down arms. Our Thraxodemon has been exiled. And here comes a Junkyard Genius, setting up a Power Stone to help cast this Energy Refractor alongside some other stuff. Which is white, blue, and black, and there is an Alchemy card. When it enters or leaves the battlefield, they get a boon that says when you cast your next creature spell, that creature enters with an additional +1/+1 counter. That's a really good card. Oh my god, that's an absurd uncommon. So 3 mana for a 3/3. Their next creature comes with a +1/+1 counter on it. When that dies, their next creature comes with another +1/+1 counter, and when they unearth it, they get that boon twice. That thing's absurd. That's one of the strongest alchemy cards I've seen outside of the rares in this set. That's super bad for me. Lauren's a decent response to that, but they're still going to get all the boons. And then they get the unearth for the multiple boons again. But yeah, Lauren with Hero of the Dunes in hand's really big. So that was a pretty great draw. We're going to Lauren that card, and then we're going to Hero of the Dunes Lauren later. Unless they have a counterspell here, they are completely untapped. Alright, so they get another +1/+1 counter boon. The only flash creature I remember is the 1/2 flyer, so I think I'm safe to attack here. Yep, hit for 2. Alright, they just had nothing to play there, I suppose. 6 mana from our opponent now. Whatever they play comes with 2 +1/+1 counters. Blade Coil Serpents with double blue spent on it, meaning they draw a card. So it's very big and they draw 1 card. That's okay. That's fine. If I had the mana to sack Lauren to Junkyard Genius, I'd probably do that right now. But I don't. I could disfigure my own Lauren, but I don't think that's worth it. Just attack with Lauren because she's got Vigilance anyway. Okay. And then if they make the block, then that makes things super easy. If they don't make the block, then I would have to just wait and go for a block on Blade Coil. Alright, unearthing the Patch Plate Resolute, so they will get 2 +1/+1 counters on their next play. Currently they get 1 +1/+1 counter on it, but after this exiles itself in the end step, they'll get 2. Yikes, and Skystrike Officer is that play, one of the strongest bombs in the format. That is not going to be a fun experience fighting against that, but we can definitely try to outrace it here. But that spits out a 1/1 soldier every time it attacks, and once they have 3 or more soldiers, they can start tapping them to draw cards, so it's just an incredible snowballing effect. A lot of outs to this. We got tons of removal in our deck, and even a Disfigure will get there, because then we can double Disfigure it. Sibling Rivalry would be beautiful. A lot of good stuff we could get to, so we'll see what we draw. Juggernaut's interesting. I can play Juggernaut and then go for the Junkyard Genius play. Oh, I'm 1 mana away from Juggernaut plus Junkyard Genius to give it haste. Make a Rager instead here then. Can't get haste. Anyway. Goblin Blast Runner is exciting. I think we attack with everybody and we can just use Junkyard Genius to make all of these 4 power, so they'll kill the officer. I think it's worth even trading a Junkyard Genius into the Skystrike Officer here. Alright, and that is the trade they're going to make here. We'll keep our Disfigure, get rid of our Power Stone. Actually might get rid of the Refractor here since we have all colors. Yeah, I'm going to get rid of the Refractor instead of the Power Stone. Power Stone can still be used on Juggernaut. Oh, it only gives the other creatures. Ah, I had to Disfigure there. I keep forgetting that it only buffs the other creatures. I'm so silly. I'm so silly. At the beginning of combat on your turn, choose one that wasn't chosen. A soldier gets +1/+1 flying, vigilance, create a 1/1 soldier? Okay. That was so bad, I think I just threw the game. If we just figured that Sky Strike Officer, we're winning handedly. Whoops. Yeah, that's terrible. Could still play all these creatures and be threatening a lot of damage. I feel like I attack all and they try to double block and kill Hero of the Dunes here, and then I Disfigure. They're down to 5. Here's a Juggernaut. Sure. And here's a Blast Runner. They get 2 1/1s to block with again between Sky Strike Officer and by Elspeth's command. Juggernaut's trample's a really big deal here. So they're going to prison sentence it, fair enough. If I draw another Junkyard Genius, then that's obviously pretty beautiful. Sack the Juggernaut to the Genius and just kill them with everything else. So we have Overwhelming Remorse, Sibling Rivalry, 2 Junkyard Genius, Penregan Strongbow, Excavation Explosion. All of those cards are just immediate lethal. Mishra's Command is also immediate lethal. Oh, they don't get 2 soldiers because they have to choose something that wasn't chosen last turn, so they just get 1 soldier here. Okay, that's cool. And there are significantly more things that find lethal with our opponent at 5 life. I was really hoping they were going to play a card there so I could feel super okay about drawing with Lauren, but I think I'm supposed to draw with Lauren here. Oh my god, Sibling Rivalry? MVP? Yep, they're going to scoop them up. I almost punted that one away there because I got all mixed up with the Junkyard Genius ability again, thinking that it would buff itself as well as the other creatures when it would not. I should have either not attacked with Junkyard Genius or, obviously, if I did go through with that attack, went for the Disfigure there to kill the Sky Strike Officer. But we're still going to outrace them there with a nice draw in the end, thanks to Lauren letting us draw that bonus card just to be extra safe, make sure we get one of our outs since we had a lot there. And we're now going to be 4-0, getting 1,400 gems and 3 packs out of this 1,500 gem event. Alright, here we are in game number 5, undefeated so far. Turn 1 Blast Runner, turn 2 Scrapwork Mutt, discarding an Unearthed card. Turn 3 Lauren. This is a pretty nuts hand here. Blast Runner for Mutt isn't the best trade ever, but I have no sacrifice effects in my hand right now anyway, so just send it in, keep our opponent off the aggressive since they are on the play. We'll trade in right here. Yeah, let's discard the Rager here. Turn 3 from our opponent could be an Argothian Opportunist. Something like that. If it's an Arbalest Engineer, that's really sad. Obliterating Bolt is also kind of sad because we don't get our Unearth value anymore. The saddest thing about this is I don't get to Lauren anything off the board. I don't really want to Lauren a Scrapwork Mutt, but a lot better than Laurening nothing. A lot better than Explosioning the Mutt or Reanimating Rager right now, so yeah. Boop the Mutt. Boop the Snoot. Boulder Branch Golem. Explosion on that here. Seems reasonable. Save Hero of the Dunes to have Lauren kill 7-drop Boulder Branch Golem later. What is this? When it enters the battlefield, do 2 at any target at the beginning of your upkeep, draft a card from the spellbook. Hey, you should do 2 damage to Lauren, opponents. Thanks, I appreciate it. Appreciate it. I would not have an out to that otherwise. That plays pretty well for us. That plays pretty monumentally well for us. That was pretty lucky. I might keep this in hand if I draw any Scrapwork Mutts. I have another in the deck, right? I do. I only have 1, though. Yeah, no, probably still play lands every turn for now. Mishra's Juggernaut. There's a Junkyard Genius, so I can sack it after I steal it with a Sibling Rivalry later. Can't do it this turn, I don't have the mana for that, but still pretty good. Attack with Lauren here. They do not want to take the trade. They're going to smack me for 5. Junkyard Genius does let me sacrifice anything with Sibling Rivalry, not just artifact creatures. So I would still be okay with like Lauren trading to the Juggernaut. I'm not necessarily going to be rivalrying this Juggernaut. I don't think I can do anything about that. No, I can't. Alright, if my opponent doesn't play any creatures here, then I am just gonna blow up the Juggernaut with Sibling Rivalry. Opportunist, that is playing a creature, but that's a creature I can kill with this figure easily. Got my own Juggernaut now. Just play my own Juggernaut, trade on blocks, save Rivalry. Because they have 6 mana now, and again, they're the kind of deck that definitely can play Boulder Branch Golems as 6/5s. Be a lot more disastrous than a Juggernaut. Might be on Disfigure and drop Juggernaut here. I think I am. Attack in and just Juggernaut for Juggernaut trade is fine. Oh, that's a draw. I guess we don't know if it was their top deck, but if it was, that was definitely a good one. Take 5, and they have 4 power to unearth from their grave. So it's getting pretty threatening, the amount of damage they can produce, so I'm pretty sure we have to Rivalry the Juggernauts. Is their last card in hand Gaia's Protection for Hexproof? Or is it removal for Junkyard Genius? Jesus Christ. What is that, the third Sylvan Smite? No, it's the second Sylvan Smite. They just had a Sylvan Smite into Explosion into Sylvan Smite. Yeah, it's brutal. Can't sack this thing anymore. Take 9 on the crackback? Attack for 7 here, put them to 7 life. We're not quite dead on the crackback. We take exactly 9. Some 1 damage from dead on the crackback. I have 5 mana to play around with here. I can't Rager or I die on the crackback. Actually, Lauren can block. Lauren can chump block one of the 2/1s. I guess I reanimate Rager here since Lauren can block. Hit for 9. Okay. Yeah, they have to top deck well. Because otherwise just go mutt mutt and I block a mutt. I take 5, 6, 7, block a mutt. No way to have another blocker here. Then I kill them by unearthing my Juggernaut. Alright, we'll see. Pretty coin flippy ending here. If they hit an Excavation Explosion, they win. If they hit 3 mana or less removal for Lauren, they win. But it has to be in their top 3 cards of their library. And it has to be 3 mana or less. It can't be like Unleash Shell for 5 mana or anything. And they've already used a lot of it, so unless their deck is loaded, they've already used Sylvan Smite, Explosion, Sylvan Smite, Obliterating Bolt. Already used like 5 3 mana or less removal spells. Choosing not to discard a card, draw a card here? God dang it. So they just know they have it? No, 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 no. So they chose not to discard a card here. That means whatever card's in their hand, they know they have it, which means I need to make sure they don't somehow by getting like disfigure exactly. So I actually activate Lauren here. I didn't get anything, I just got a Strong Bull. It's an Honor Guard, so they could barely survive Juggernaut. Okay. Strong Bull finds the lethal. Got enough mana, I can play Strong Bull and sack some of these after Juggernaut hits them. For as much as it can. Yeah, we Juggernaut and then we Strong Bull for 2 more damage. Strong Bull. Ooh, that was a stressful one. Good lord. The moment they unearthed Scrapwork Mutt number 2 and didn't choose to discard the card, I was like, oh no. Because that means they thought they had it for sure with just that card. But turns out it was just a blocker to make sure that they weren't dead on board, and we did draw into a way to deal an additional damage to them before we pass back, and that's gonna be lethal for us. Really lucky game there. 1,600 gems and 4 packs. We're in the money now, 5-0, heading on to round 6. Here we are now in game number 6, and I am going to keep this. It's another mono red hand. We had some issues with this before, but we have a ton of 2-mana colorless cards to play, as well as an energy refractor that can hit our other colors later. Goring Warplow, turn 2 from our opponents. We have not drawn any lands here, which is pretty devastating to us. We definitely need to be discarding aggressively to these scrapwork mutts. So look for these land drops. That is also not a land drop. Got good cards in here, that's for sure. Phyrexian Dragon Engine, well, we need to disfigure that. And we can't. We did not hit any land drops still. By Energy Refractor now, I know I can disfigure the Dragon Engine next turn, so I think that's the safest play. That is 3 for 3 on Lost Coin Flips. We're at exactly a 50% chance of drawing a land every turn now. About to take a million. Go down to 16 here. Dreams of Steel and Oil. They make us discard an artifact or creature. They exile them as well, which gets rid of the Unearth. That's actually disgusting here. Kind of pre-sideboarded anti-Unearth card. Alright, get rid of our rare and our card in our grave. In red and black, there's only one card I can think of that would add extra toughness to the Dragon Engine. That's the Moment of Craving for +2/+1, which I think they would have just used, because it gives it lifelink as well, so they would have hit me for 8 and gained 8 life. So I don't think there's any combat trick that's about to save this Phyrexian Dragon Engine. So let's just disfigure it here. Yeah, it's gone. It is gone. It does have Unearth, so it will come back again later. But it'll only attack once when unearthed. Take 1 from the Warplow. There's a Scrapwork Rager from our opponent. Very nice value play. Got our 4th mana here. I can Rivalry, but I have nothing to sack whatever I steal with yet. Don't have the Genius on board. I think I'm just playing the Genius this turn. Definitely don't want to trade Genius into the Rager, but I can also just afford to take 3 on the Crackback, so I think I attack with everybody. They can trade into the 3/1 if they want. They are going to. Here's Junkyard Genius. Six mana ready for our opponent. They are going to Overwhelming Remorse our Junkyard Genius. Sad day for Sibling Rivalry. Now it's looking pretty stranded in our hand. But there's a Pendragon Strongbow. That'll change that right quickly. I can play the Strongbow and the Mutt. I just don't get to discard a card for value here, which is fine. I guess I could discard the Rivalry, but I have the Strongbow. Opponent is red-black, though, so if they blow up the Strongbow, it's going to be bad for our Rivalry. You know what? Yeah, I'll discard this. Just hit a land, but the land still lets us hold up Strongbow's ability here. Make sure that the Strongbow doesn't die to an Excavation Explosion. So that still does provide some value. So that's why we're playing it instead of holding it to discard to a mutt later. Some excavation explosion protection. Good trade-off here because I can unearth, but honestly, I'm dealing more damage than I'm taking every time, so I think it's just worth it to let it in. Give it lifelink, sure. And there's a foundry inspector. Late enough in the game that cost reduction doesn't matter too much. Probably will hold on to this land. Attack with everybody. Strongbow I can buff if they block with Inspector. If they don't block at all, we can Remorse the Inspector. They are going to block the Strongbow. Potentially. Oh, they've changed their mind. I would have been very happy with that block. They trade Foundry Inspector into just a Power Stone. 1, 2... We're going to do 6 damage, put them to 10. I could put them to 8. Sacking this Power Stone, I'm definitely not sacking the Refractor. Because I still have my white cards in the deck. Worth it to put them to 8 here? Just hold on to the Power Stone. Probably worth it to just hold on to the Power Stone. Right, and I'm holding on to the land for Mutts, holding on to the Remorse. Probably for the Inspector. Unearth the Rager. Draw a card, lose a life. They're down to 9. If the Inspector doesn't attack, I'm cool just holding on to Remorse here for now. Only really need to use it if they're speeding up their clock in terms of how fast they kill us by quite a bit. Which they're not. We're very okay with trades for Mutt. For the Mutts, I should say. No longer attacking with Strongbow since they held War Plow back. I don't really want to Remorse War Plow. No blocks. Just gonna take 4 here, sure. I have Strongbow to block Inspector. I have Remorse for another creature. Melt Through. I might as well sack it for extra damage. Let's use the correct mana there. I think I want to hold off on the Mutt and use it next turn to discard draw. Because then I get to attack with it as well. Threaten more damage. This Phyrexian Dragon Engine still chilling in their graveyard, ready to push in for 4 damage off of the Unearth. Does let them discard their hand and draw a new one as well. Main phase Whirling Strike on the Foundry Inspector. And then Phyrexian Dragon Engine? Sure. Oh, use it so they can draw more cards here. That makes sense. Solid value. Bonus card. That's exact lethal, so I have to Remorse the Inspector. If I want to take 0 damage, I can block Strongbow, sack Refractor, and my Power Stone. Then I still kill them on the crackback. I believe. Because they're down to 4 and we're going to attack with 3 2-power creatures. And we have the ability to do bonus damage with Strongbow. Yep, things just went super well for us. We even drew a Rager to unearth as well, which is nasty. Get well over lethal here. And an Explosion. Explosion's actually better than Rager. Yeah, they're going to scoop them up. It's already lethal on board. And we drew into an Explosion. Ridiculous draws at the end of that game, and we are going to be 6-0 now. Undefeated, heading into the final boss, but we've got 3 rounds, 3 opportunities to get just one last win with this deck to get a nice 7-win run today. We're going to be on the play here. A mono black hand, but Energy Refractor. To solve that issue, we'll have to play off curve and play our cards late, though, and we don't play any creatures till 3. Tempted to mulligan this one. All of the other monocolored hands we've kept has been because we've had at least 2 2-mana plays, mostly creatures, to actually get things rolling. With this, we kind of only have 4 mana plays, unless I hit mountains, because the genius is if I'm casting them off of exclusively swamps cost 4 with Energy Refractor. They're super powerful, but I think I'm going to mulligan this. And we do have a lower curve here, so this seems a little better to me. Disfigure, Mutt, Explosion. It's a less high impact, but more consistent. We know that we're doing things for the start of the game. I'll discard the 4th land here. We don't need a 4th mana for anything anytime soon. Draw into a 5th land, which, since we discarded the 4th one, is basically just another 4th land. I'm not going to feel super bad here. We'll probably disfigure the Warplow, especially if we draw an additional disfigure. Playing against blue, black, red, some Grixis stuff. Oracle's Prodigy is a terrifying card. It can get unblockable and get bigger every time they do it. So they attack as a 3/4 unblockable, then they attack as a 5/4 unblockable. Card is horrifying, and we're kind of flooding out here. That's our 6th land drawn, 5th in the hand. Luckily, we do get to just disfigure this thing, get rid of it. Rusko, Clockmaker, gives them a Midnight Clock. So even if we kill that, it still gave them value, and now they have Maze Mind Tome, which draws them an extra 4 cards throughout the game. The Midnight Clock eventually gives them a brand new hand. We don't have our white source for hero. This game's going about as poorly as it can go without like genuinely being just dead already. We're pretty much just dead already. Opponent's already 3 cards ahead. They're going to go miles ahead with Midnight Clock, drawing a fresh new hand. Tome, drawing 4 more cards. Yep, and now our Mutt is pretty useless. That is land number 7 drawn. Full cost Goring Warplow. That's both of our white cards now. Without the white source. Opponent got to play a pretty sick game of solitaire there in the end. Some pretty brutal stuff. We are going to be 6-1. 2 more shots at the 7-win run. Here we are in game number 8. A little flooded out here, but we can discard one of these lands to draw something else with our scrapwork mutt. And we've got some high impact plays here. Unfortunately, opponent is on the play. Dropping an archaeologist. Picking up a scatter ray probably. Nope, they're just going to make it a 1/4. Fair enough. If they're going to have a 1/4 body, a 2/1's never getting in or blocking, so we'll play the 2/2 first and play the mutt next turn. Multiple energy refractors. I definitely don't need all these, but they do cycle into drawing more cards, which is fine. We don't have any attacks, but neither does our opponent. Should play a mutt here and discard one of these refractors, honestly. So I can hard cast the front half of Scrapwork Rager and unearth it later. Seems fine. Kind of a slow start here, just setting up some value. This 1/4 body really going to lock us out of the game for now. Ooh, Philology Archaeologist is in the sky, drawing them a card every time it attacks, so... one of those plays that's really unfortunate to be on the draw for. Because if we were on the play, we would have a red and 4 right now to shoot down Archaeologist after it's attacked once, but since we're on the draw, we have to wait another turn to play our 5th land drop and shoot the Archaeologist. So opponent does get to draw 2 off of it, which is pretty good. I know exactly what I'm going to do next turn, so I don't really need to draw any other cards right now. I just need to make sure I'm dropping that Mishra's Command and getting rid of Archaeologist there, so we'll just play more cards here. Ready to kill the Archaeologist next turn. The problem is they're going to have mana up this time, potentially, for the green hexproof spell or a counter spell out of blue. Bushwhack to kill our reach creature. That's it. They have all of the open mana up for potential protection. Take Flight is a powerful card in terms of being able to just draw an extra card every turn, that they're basically locked into winning the game if they can keep this on the board. So if they have any protection in their hand, we're not going to be able to find a time where they're not going to hold the mana up for it. So we need to just take the first opportunity we can to potentially kill this thing, even if they maybe have a counterspell for it. They're never going to not hold up the counterspell to protect that card, so we just go for it, and we're probably getting hexproof spelled here. Yep. It's pretty brutal. Still try to outrace them here because we still get all that extra damage. But they are just going to draw a million cards throughout this game. Worst part is it's the 2-mana trick as well, so it's going to be really easy for them to hold that up all game. Weakstone Subjugation, keep the Thraxodemon tapped down. Drop a Honor Guard that takes 3 mana to kill because of the ward. And another removal spell because they've drawn like 10,000 cards this game. Don't have the mana to disfigure plus play Rager here. Can disfigure and play Mutt from grave, discarding the Rager, hitting for 2, putting them to 6. They only have Archaeologist on board. Can disfigure, play Mutt from grave, and play Blast Runner. Draw Mishra's Juggernaut. That's spicy. They're down to 6. Thopter Mechanic gets bigger every time they draw a second card per turn. They must have drawn that off for after Take Flight triggered. So otherwise that would be really weird. We're definitely going for Juggernaut here. I can't afford to play Juggernaut and Rager from Grave. Send in the runner. Do hit for 1. Juggernaut does resolve. 5 trampling power is pretty threatening. There's a Battery Bearer for a 3/4 from our opponent. Very high toughness. Ooh, Howling Mine. We could just start drawing extra cards too. I will take it. Thopter Mechanic gets a little bigger. That's just a draw 1 card thing. Yeah. Junkyard Genius as the draw and Sibling Rivalry in hand. There's got to be some combination of cards that just wins the game here. They have... Okay, so they have 2 blockers. I have 7 mana. Oops, I've actually minimized Arena. I can play Genius and sack Thraxidemon. Blast Runner's a 4-power menace creature. Juggernaut's a 6-power trample menace creature. If they double block this, they die. If they double block this, it doesn't trample over and they don't die. They take 4. Go to 1. If I Sibling Rivalry, I can't sack anything. They block Juggernaut, get trampled over for 1, take 1, 2, 3, 4. They're 1 away from dead that way also. Am I just 1 away from lethal either way? I think I'm just 1 away from lethal either way. They can't kill me on the crackback though, right? Because if I do Junkyard Genius sack Thraxidemon, this is a 4/2 Menace Haste. This is a 6-power Menace Trample. They have to double block this one or they're dead. They take 4 and go to 1. Since they double block this one, this has 6 power against 4 toughness, 2 toughness. These both die. They have a 1/1 flyer and a 3/5 flyer. They can attack me for 4. Alright, we Junkyard Genius, and it's not lethal. But it forces them to lose Thopter Mechanic and Battery Bearer. And then we don't die on the crackback. We just take 4. So unless they have like OG Giant Growth for +3/+3, we're alive here. Then we can kill them off of a Sibling Rivalry surprise. Alloy Animist. Force a chump block with Junkyard Genius here. And then I don't get to draw a card because the Howling Mine is tapped. If they don't attack with their flyers, then I don't have to chump with Junkyard Genius. Okay, now I do. Could just Sibling Rivalry their flyer. That would be the funniest way to win this game. They just can't stop the 1 point of flying damage. 3, 6, 7, 8, 9 mana. I could Juggernaut and try to trample over for lethal. I guess Juggernaut's probably a tiny bit safer because they can't counter it. But then if they have a bounce spell, I'm very dead. If they have a bounce spell for the flyer, I'm also dead. I'm dead either way if they have a bounce spell. I think it's like equally risky to do either. And sibling rivalry is like a little bit funnier. I'll go for sibling rivalry. The funnier option. And see what happens. They have the bounce spell. Yep. They are forcing their chump there, but I took a damage from Rager, so yeah. They had the bounce spell, which kills us either way. That's so brutal. What a rough game there. Always frustrating to lose to something like a take flight. Because, like, especially because it's 100% we just lost because we were on the draw and not on the play. As I said with the Mishra's Command, we had the Mishra's Command, but being on the draw means that your opponent is ahead of you on mana. So they tap out turn 4 for the take flight, it goes to our turn. We get to play our 4th mana for our Mishra's Command, but because we're on the draw, they had the 4 mana before we did, so our Mishra's Command's only at 3 damage instead of 4 damage. If we were at the 5 mana there before they're at 5 mana, then our Mishra's Command kills their take-flighted creature while they're tapped out, which was our only opportunity to ever kill it when they had the 2 mana hexproof trick. Brutal game there. Still got tremendously close for them drawing like 7 extra cards throughout the game, so fought pretty hard for it, but take flight plus being on the play just gotta get us there. Sad day. Here we are now in round 9, win or lose, the final game of Magic for the day. 6-2, just had some really poor runs of it for the last 2 rounds. 6-0 into 6-2, always gonna feel pretty bad. We're 1 mana off from really popping off here with Explosion and Strongbow, Rager at 4 mana, which Explosion gives us the Power Stone for, so kind of a risky keep, but any land gets us really going here. Do need that white source for Lauren though. I think I'm going to take the mulligan here since we do have a white card in here. And there's Lauren again, but we've got more mana this time, so we'll keep it. Still got 3 mana, that's enough to play these cards. Mutt can get rid of Lauren if we don't draw the white source. Or if we keep drawing lands, Mutt could get rid of our 4th or 5th land out of the hand. Opponent curving out real aggressively, Recruitment Officer, turn 1. On the draw again, pretty brutal. We were probably on the play in a lot of our victories, but in modern limited formats, especially ones as aggressive as Brothers War, being on the play versus on the draw can kind of just decide who wins the game pretty often. As we saw last round, it definitely decides who's on the aggressive more. Alright, well, we've made it our way through 6 lands so far, so hopefully not too many more. After that, probably going to unearth this Mutt again since we are flooding. Keep this Recruitment Officer from activating and getting them more cards. Argothian Opportunist for our opponents. Alright, land number 7. Very good with Sentinel Stalwart, because the Stalwart can tap the Power Stone for a mana of any color to cast anything. Alright, Mutt. Please get us out of this. Okay, land number 8 is in the building. Let's go. Might have been better to play Recycler, just unblocking Opportunist, keeping them off me for now. Junkyard Genius is interesting. Recycler's definitely better here, though. An Ambush Paratrooper with the 5 mana to give the whole board +1/+1, and the Prison Sentence to shut off the blocker. Brothers War strikes back. I'm just facing too many creatures here. I can play 1 blocker or I can kill one of the creatures. We're dead either way. If I play 1 blocker and block the Opportunist, they can use Paratrooper. That'll make Stalwart deal 2, Vanguard deal 3, and Paratrooper deal 2, so we'll take 7. If I Mishra's command the Opportunist or the Paratrooper, I die to the other creatures. I command the Paratrooper and take 6, or I command the Opportunist and take, again, 7 damage. So we're just dead either way. Opponent was on the play with a good aggressive curve. We hit way too many lands to have the very early defenses to stop it, and that's just Brothers War for you. 6-0 into 6-3 it is. This figure would have been good earlier. Got a static net as well. Seems good. Good lord, we could not have lost our last 3 rounds any worse than we did. What a flip. What an absolute 180, 6-0 into 6-3 there. Swingy format, some swingy games there, but still a very good win rate here. I think we drafted a very powerful deck. We just had some super rough games in the end. Played against some very good decks with very good curve outs on us. Just on the draw instead of the play at inopportune times, and a little bit too many lands at times as well. So rough stuff to end it off, but still a very good record overall, getting 1,800 gems in 5 packs out of the event. One last peek at the deck, loved pretty much everything about it. Even the white splash worked pretty well. Outside of course, the losses, we did hit some white cards with no white sources, so we did get punished for the white splash, but we also got rewarded for the white splash with Hero of the Dunes winning a lot of games that we ended up winning, so I think it's still pretty close whether the white version or just the red-black version of the deck was better, because, again, we had the positives and downsides of it. Hero of the Dunes plus Lauren winning some games, and Hero of the Dunes plus Lauren losing at least one of those games. Where we just had both in our hand with no white source. So that was the only thing about the deck that might have been, that's debatable. Everything else, you know, the Triple Genius, the Mutts, the Rock Hunter, Thraxity, just everything else in the deck was just sweet, did its job, came in pretty hot. I even cast a Duress off an Elsewhere Flask early on in one of those games, so that was helpful with the mana fixing there. A lot of great stuff overall from the deck, and I'm pretty happy with how we drafted and played this time around. Just didn't pan out perfectly for us, but still close to perfect. 6-3, close to greatness as you can get without getting there, so I'll take it. 1,800 gems and 5 packs is our reward today. We are up in gems. Pretty beautiful. We are going to do one more Brothers War Alchemy draft. They are going to be leaving Arena tomorrow, so I will be doing one more tomorrow, and then we'll be doing a bunch of Arena Cube, since there's going to be not much else to do on Arena for a while after that. So if you're interested in watching another Alchemy Brothers War draft, there will be one more coming up on the channel just tomorrow. And if you're interested in any other draft formats, any other Magic Arena in general, I do these videos as close to daily as I can, so stay tuned for those. You can always like, comment, and subscribe if you want to let the YouTube algorithm know to send you some more of these videos in your recommended feeds. And once again, as always, to end off the video, I would just like to thank you all very much for watching, and I will see you again soon for some more Magic Arena.